What is up, everybody? Welcome into this Friday edition of the Pack a Day podcast here on YouTube. Happy Friday. Hope this edition finds you well and in good health. I just got done finally breaking down my grades for last Monday's game against the Atlanta Falcons for the defensive side of the football. Obviously, I went over my offensive grades a couple days ago. If you haven't had a chance, make sure to check out that video. But finally was able to finish up my defensive grades. And today I'm just going to be breaking them down. Top 3 graded players on defense against the Falcons and my bottom 3 graded players. So let's start with the positive first. Let's go over my top 3 graded players for the Green Bay Packers defense against the Atlanta Falcons. Number 1, primetime Money, Jaire Alexander. What a start to the season. You've all seen the statistics and how he did against Calvin Ridley. Some of it was zone, some of it was man. Calvin Ridley probably could have had a couple catches if if Matt Ryan threw a couple better balls, but this was another really outstanding performance for Jaire Alexander. We once again saw him come up on a run blitz. Actually, I think there was a couple of them in this game. He's aggressive going to the football. Interestingly enough, Jaire's rookie season, he was very aggressive going to the football and aggressive as a tackler. I thought last year he kind of toned it back a little bit. I don't know if he was a little bit banged up, trying to nurse an injury or what it was, but I thought he kind of toned that back a little bit. That is not the case this season. He has been very aggressive, both when it comes to tackling, going after the football, and you love to see that tenacity and that intensity from Jaire Alexander because that's one of those traits that makes him such a special player. So we saw that again, and then just his coverage, his ability to flip his hips, his ability to explode to the football. He can play off coverage because he has the speed and the click and close ability to come up and make a play on the football. He can play man, he can play press. His only downside is that, he's a little bit on the shorter side. And when you have sticky coverage like Jaire Alexander does, it doesn't always matter all that much. We've seen a couple times, maybe a player like Allen Robinson go up and get a football against Jaire, but his coverage has been so darn good. I know Pro Football Focus has him as their top rated corner by a fair distance, both just overall and in coverage. I've got him graded in the positive every game this year, and he seems to be kind of getting better as things go along. Just another really fantastic game from Jaire Alexander. Number 2 on my list, it's a little bit of an interesting one. It's not going to surprise you that he's number 2 on the list. It's Zadarius Smith, who ended with another really nice grade. But usually when Zadarius Smith has a 3-sack performance, he's number 1 on the list, and he just has a massive grade. That wasn't the case, and you can tell, he was questionable going into this game. You can tell, even with a 3-sack performance, and this gives you an indication of how high of a bar he has set so far for himself in Green Bay. But even in a 3-sack performance, he's not consistently getting to the quarterback with just pressures and things like that with quite the same consistency as he did at least late in last season. This is very nitpicky because when you have 3 sacks, a couple pressures, I think he had a tackle for a loss. That's a massive, massive game. But in other points in the game, just not that same level of intensity. Wasn't setting the edge with the same vigor that he did a season ago. Just wasn't, there'd be times where he'd just be one-on-one with an offensive tackle and he would just be stonewalled, which you never saw from Zadarius Smith a season ago. So this is not for me to, try to bring down Zadarius Smith, as he was my second highest rated player and again had 3 sacks and a really great game overall. But he actually, at points in this game and through the first half, actually had a negative grade in this game. Did get a couple kind of garbage time sacks, but this again is not me to undercut Zadarius Smith's game. He had a really nice game, but again, usually when he has a 3-sack performance and stuff like that, you're looking at a +3, +4 grade. This was just a little under a plus 1.0 grade this week. So still a really nice game and another 3-sack performance for Zadarius Smith. So kudos to him, another really great game. Number 3 on my list is a player that continues to grow on me week by week by week, and that is undrafted free agent Chris Barnes at inside linebacker. He is doing all the little things right, and I just love his intensity. I love his ability to get back in coverage. The blitz that he had where he came up, and I forget who it was on Twitter that basically said it looked like Desmond Bishop back in the day. It really did. He just used that physical and aggressive type mentality, came up, hit the back, force Matt Ryan to roll out and get outside of the pocket. And that's just the type of plays that we're starting to see from Chris Barnes. He also had the play where he bit up on coverage a little bit and then realized, bit up on the play fake a little bit, realized he needed to get back in coverage, flipped his hips, found the receiver, sprinted that way, made the diving pass deflection. It ended up getting caught a little bit unlucky in that situation. Probably more unlucky when you consider that Darnell Savage was probably there to pick off the pass had Chris Barnes not deflected it. But you can't take that away from him. He made a fantastic play on the football, not only to get there, but then again to make the diving effort and deflect the pass. Those type of plays are going to end up in interceptions and incompletions much more than they're going to end up in fluke completions. So he's also just doing some of the really small things well. You don't see him missing the tackles. You don't see him getting beat in space. And it's just those type of things, that level of consistency that I'm so surprised by. And the number one thing that I can say about Chris Barnes, and you can go all the way back to week 1, he's not thinking out there. He is reading and reacting. And for a rookie, undrafted free agent who did not have the benefit of a rookie mini camp or OTAs, had a limited training camp, got cut the first week before the first week of the season. They claimed him back, or signed him to the practice squad, then brought him back. He starts week 1, and it's been all positive since then. I think he's Pro Football Focus's like 13th graded inside linebacker, somewhere around there. So and easily the top rated rookie. So talk about the Patrick Queens and the Kenneth Murrays and the players that maybe got away. They may have got one of the best, if not the best, inside linebacker in this draft, and Chris Barnes, at least how he's played through the first quarter of the season. And I really legitimately believe he's going to continue to grow and get better. So very, very excited about Chris Barnes at inside linebacker. My 3 negative grades this week, or my bottom 3, if you will. Number 1, kind of again, Preston Smith. And it's been a major disappearing act for Preston Smith so far. Not entirely sure if he is going through some sort of injury. We've seen some players in the NBA bubble. I know Brad Stevens actually mentioned this about Kemba Walker, that with no crowd and without some of that interaction, that he just wasn't the same player in the bubble that he was outside of the bubble. Maybe that's the same for Preston Smith, where he's not getting that energy from the crowd. You can tell just in his interviews, he likes interviewing with Za'Darius. Maybe he likes that connection. Maybe he likes that vibe. I don't know. I'm mostly guessing here, but something's different. I mean, he rarely graded, I think it was 2 or 3 games where he graded in the negative at all last year through 18 games. He's graded in the negative in all 4 games, and again, was my lowest rated player this week. You don't see him getting to the quarterback with any sort of regularity, or sometimes at all. He gets a lot of one-on-ones. He's not winning those. He was one-on-one with, the Falcons' right tackle quite a bit in this game. Wasn't able to get home. Just a kind of a disappointing first quarter of the season, and arguably, I think it's fair to say, the most disappointing player on the Packers through the first 4 games, Preston Smith. And again, another negative grade. In fact, my lowest graded game for any of the Packers defenders against the Falcons. Number 2 on my list, Josh Jackson. Jackson got some playing time in this game, which was nice to see. I think a lot of people are wanting to see what he'd be able to do in some extended playing time. Came in, actually started with a couple nice plays, and then it was all downhill from there. And I think the big thing with Josh Jackson is he just has to figure out a way to not use his hands and get grabby. There were a couple plays that he probably could have got called for either illegal contact, holding, or pass interference, and they didn't call it. There were a couple other plays where he missed tackles, a couple other plays where he just didn't have good coverage on the play. You're hoping for more out of Josh Jackson. We haven't exactly seen that yet. This was another indication of that. It's been a disappointment for Josh Jackson in his career in Green Bay so far. The talent is still there. He still has the ability to make an impact for this team going forward. But this was an opportunity with extended playing time, and he did not take advantage of it in this game. And number 3, another player who has been on this list quite a bit through the first 4 weeks, and that's Dean Lowry. And Green Bay has mentioned already that they're going to do a pretty big self-scout through this bye week. And I think they need to take a really long look at what Dean Lowry is providing along this defensive line, because I'm not sure right now that Kingsley Keke, Tyler Lancaster, Montrevious Adams, Billy Wynn, of course, Kenny Clark, I'm not sure that all of them aren't better right now than Dean Lowry. And the thing with Lowry is there used to be some inconsistencies, but he'd have some flash games here or there. We're 4 games in. There's no flash plays. He's on the ground a ton. He's inconsistent. He's getting pushed back. He's been a little bit better. He's a little bit better against the Saints. It wasn't a brutal game this week, but he's just not bringing you anything. He's not bringing you anything as a pass rusher. He's below average as a run defender. So I think they have to take a long, hard look at Dean Lowry and what he's bringing to the table as a defender overall, run defender, pass rusher. You're not getting anything. I think it's time to start working in the Montravius Adams, the Billy Wins, and players like that a little bit more and a lot less of Dean Lowry. Thanks so much for listening. As always, that does it for me today. Make sure to check out Andrew Merteg and Kyle Fellows with special guest Aaron Nagler on the podcast edition, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Again, my name's Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. That would be amazing. So many of you have done so already. And before I go, I just want to thank you so much. The comments, the likes, all of those have been out of this world amazing. So again, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for listening. And as always, go Pack Go.